Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights, Panini's platform. I did get some boxes from Panini. They're really good about that, keeping me aware of what's coming out. Some of them are brand new and some of them are last month's boxes, but it's nice to get some perspective of what's being released to the world of collectors, especially modern collectors. I'm more of a vintage guy, but I'm educating myself in terms of the modern cards, the slick and shiny. Not a problem for me. Like I said, I like all cards, some better than others. It's more about the player, the aesthetics, the attributes, things like that. And I still love 56 Topps baseball, but some of the Panini products are the opposite of that in terms of how they approach it, but it's still fun. Thanks to other sponsors as well, not just Panini, but Topps and Upper Deck, Heritage Auctions, Huggins and Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentication. Every company has a platform. When I was Beckett Publications, we had a platform that was primarily publications, price guides at first, and then it expanded. And I'm going to look the same way at Panini and try to give you some perspectives, or at least the way I see some potential opportunities. In the meantime, Panini keeps cranking out sets. In front of me, I'm looking at basketball and football, which with the full licenses for another 6 or 12 months, respectively, I think, for those, they've really grown the category. And I think Fanatics will take it from there. And what Panini will do, I'll discuss that later. In the meantime, they're cranking out products, and they are the sole full licensee of football and basketball for a little bit longer. The first product is the Totally Certified. I remember that back in the day, late 90s. Some very tough parallels in the day when parallels really started getting crazy. Totally Certified. I got football box, the mega box, and they sent me also the premium box, which is a little bit bigger and frankly a lot better than the mega box. And then I got a mega box of Totally Certified basketball, 24-25. Very similar. I've said before, I really think there's a huge advantage for these companies that have a platform that's broad-based and allows them to do different sports. There's economies of scale. There's a lot there. It's similar to what Beckett Publications did when we branched out into the other sports. You notice that the cover treatments were similar. They were not exactly the same. We had a little bit different masthead, some different people working on some of them, but a lot of common staff that brought their expertise to bear on all the different sports. And that, I think that was to our benefit, and I believe it was to the hobby's benefit. So Panini, as I said, also has a platform. That platform's going to change in the next year. So Totally Certified football, I was just struck that the difference in 6 packs of 7 in a mega box that's got platinum parallels. I didn't get any of the ultra rare Metropolis mirror inserts. Jamar Chase is on the box. There was nothing wrong with it. And I thought, that's pretty good, $100 a box or whatever it would be. And then they also sent me a premium box, and it blew away the mega box. It's known in the hobby that at the same price, you'd rather have hobby than you would retail, usually. And also the larger configurations, the more expensive configurations, the first off the lines, those things generally have a better chance at the better stuff. And it sure was the case. In the mega box, it wasn't just that I got less cards. The premium box is 10 packs of 6. So it's not drastically more cards, but you got an autograph and a couple of mem cards. I guess it was a Target exclusive, but it was far better. Again, that's the conventional wisdom that if you have a box that's twice as expensive of the same product, generally the thought is that it's at least twice as good, mainly in the sense that you've got a much better chance to get some big cards. I didn't get anything huge, but I did get as advertised as you would imagine. And then I looked at the basketball, the Totally Certified basketball, and I thought, well, basketball, there's an awful lot of superstars in there. And again, it's a mega box, so that's a retail situation. I noticed that DA Card World was sold out. A good thing there, but it's been out a couple months. I got what I was supposed to get, and I was not disappointed, but I'm still reeling from how strong the premium box was in the Totally Certified. And so if there's a Totally Certified basketball premium box, my guess is that would be better too. Not just more cards, but better configurations within the pack, more better cards. You've got base cards, you've got some better cards, and then you've got some hits. my sweet spot are the better cards. Not, I don't turn down the hits, and very occasionally I'll get something really good and I'll put it on my wall. Then the last box was the 2024 Panini Clearly Donruss, 4 packs of 5, got an autograph in there. Talks about the downtowns and the different kinds of downtown legends and duos and uptown, all these kind of things. Again, the big winner of this group was the Totally Certified Premium Box. This box was a similar price. I was curious. There were a couple of Detroit Lions on the front of the box. I don't think they were distributing them regionally, but Aiden Hutchinson, I really hope he comes fully back. He probably will with modern medicine, but he had a really rough injury. Jared Goff, quality quarterback. But I'm just wondering what the choice was, why they wouldn't pick 2 different guys from the East Coast and the West Coast, or different markets, or bigger stars perhaps. Anyway, I like the clearly look. They look like better cards. They are better cards. But like I said, it didn't grab me this time. You're only getting 4 packs of 5, so you're getting 20 cards for a couple $100, for more than a couple $100. So if I had to buy some more stuff, it'd be the premium boxes. Okay, those are the boxes there. Again, thank you, Panini, for that. I maybe have 1 card that'll go on my wall. I'll mention that maybe later. Anyway, I titled this Panini's Platform, and I just thought we take for granted that things as they are is as they will be, that this is the status quo. And Panini was riding high for a long time, really in first place in terms of the card manufacturers, and now they've had a jolt, losing the licenses. There's still litigations. I do hope that gets resolved. My second career after being a professor was being an expert witness, so I was in court more than most attorneys with large class actions, complicated class actions, federal district court, and my experience in over 100 lawsuits is that the vast majority of lawsuits settle before trial, or they might start the trial and then settle. There are many reasons to not go to trial. The parties know what they want, what their fallback position is. And I'm hoping there's a good chance that Panini and Fanatics through Topps can resolve their litigation amicably in a way that's good for the hobby. And I have some ideas how that could happen. Even most criminal cases don't always go to court because there's plea bargains. Most judges don't like to hear cases. They like to get cases resolved, and they don't like appeals. So they love it if the parties come up and say, here's how we've worked it out, and then both parties sign off, whether they meet in the middle or one person has a stronger position. So let's say that Panini and the Fanatics do resolve this. If it's going to go to court, it's going to take a lot longer. So that's another reason why some things might happen this year as Panini's trying to make plans. Panini has a platform. They have a lot of employees. They have a lot of relationships. They have a lot of business practices that are well honed. They need to be continuing to produce cards and stickers. In fact, I think some of my suggestions for Panini are, I'd like to see them go for more stickers, especially if they can get licensed for 2.5 by 3.5 stickers. That would have all the other attributes of a card product. So maybe that'll work. And also, they've been doing baseball without a full license. Maybe they can work with the players' associations of basketball and football and do that. Again, no guarantees, but some of those things could be subject to settling in the lawsuit. I've noticed that Panini is the main one, it seems like to me, that's more strongly advertising NFTs in their football products right on the front of the box. I'm not a fan of NFTs, except in the sense where they might be redeemable for something tangible, whether that's a card or an experience. So I don't mind the blockchain technology, but to get an NFT, that's not an attraction for me unless it ties to something more. But Panini may be ahead of the others in that, so they might be able to work something out there. Certainly, I would encourage Panini to use their platform for other sports and other entities that have not been licensed, other music or entertainment properties, to be aggressive there. Again, it's following a little bit of a page of Leaf, but I do think there are opportunities. Now, none of them I don't think will be as big as baseball or basketball or football, but there's some nice business. Star Wars has been an enduring, the Disney, the Marvel. There's a lot of different strong popular culture brands. Some people might say, why are you putting this in a podcast? Why don't you just tell Panini privately? And the reason is I do a lot of consulting for individuals and organizations. And frankly, a lot of people think that having the idea is the big deal. For every 10 persons that have a good idea, only one of them is able to execute. And that might be because of their innate abilities or relationships or a structure they already have in place. Some of the ideas we came up with in Beckett Publications, we already had the platform. Panini already has the platform. So for them to branch out into other types of consumer products that have a collectible feel, they have the engine in place, just as we did to do. It allowed us to move into grading, not seamlessly, but with a predictable high degree of success because we had distribution, which Panini also has. The other thing Panini could do is they could buy some company. I get called a bunch of guys that are, again, it's mostly guys. I don't get called by women that much, but I get called by men, guys who have a business in the industry and they're looking to be acquired. Panini could be a great acquisition partner. They could go after some of these small or medium-sized entities in the hobby because they can fold in those efforts into the customer service, the production, all the things they already have. So, hey, it's great to have a great idea, but if you can't execute. And I met with a guy just last month, and he said, I'm thinking about doing this, but I'm nervous about telling anybody about my idea. And I said, the idea has your name on it. You have the abilities. I don't know anybody else that has your unique set of abilities. I said, if somebody took your idea, they can't take you. And whether you have an NDA or not, you have a unique set of experiences and relationships that even if somebody did want your idea, they'd want you too. So execution is critical. And Panini has proven they can execute and they can grow a category in their marketing and all that. And then lastly, there are no sure things in the hobby. There was no Panini except over in Europe doing the disposable stickers. And then all of a sudden, 15 years ago, they made a big splash in Panini America. Now they're going to be second chair at best to Fanatics as Fanatics has come on so strong. But the other things that are not sacred cows, but just things that you think it's always going to be a certain way. And again, the Panini brands, Pacific was an innovator. They are no more, but their brands were picked up. Again, if Panini's still doing other kinds of cards, they're not going to sub-license the Prism or Mosaic or Optic to Fanatics, I don't think, but they can do downtowns with anything they want to and these other kinds of things. But don't think just because it's always been so, it will be so. The exaggerated demand in our hobby is based on marketing many times. And it makes a lot of sense when you're in the middle of it, but it may not always be so that there will be exaggerated demand on quarterbacks in football. I think there'll always be exaggerated demand on guys that score a lot of points in basketball and are all NBA. But quarterbacks are mainly it. That may not always be the case. It may not always be the case that PSA 10s or even Black Label BGS 10s have exaggerated demand for them. Right now, there's enough dollars chasing them to keep the price going up. But there could eventually be some backlash that they just get priced out of buying these ultra rare commons. They're only rare in the finest condition, and maybe that'll go on for a long time, but I'm not willing to bet that's going to go on forever. I'd rather have a very good condition Babe Ruth card than a pristine condition common card in almost every case. Even rookie cards are not sacred, in that I think there's some backlash now, not backlash, but just a thought that, you know what, for 10 times the price and get the rookie card, but the second year card is more attractive, and surely it should be worth more than 1/10. So that could mean either that the second year card or third year card is underpriced or the rookie card is overpriced. But again, it's supply and demand. The more people chase rookie cards, RCs, true RCs, all of that, the higher those values are going to go. The other thing is just the standard size. It's always been the case that standard size, which is now 2.5 by 3.5, has been the predominant primary demanded types of products. And yet 100 years ago, they were cigarette cards. And then you had the Gaudis in the 30s and the play balls and the earlier Bowmans that were smaller. The size could change. I hope it doesn't, for the sake of the plastic sheet and slabs and all that stuff. All the shoe boxes are based on that. At any rate, just some ramblings about Panini and their platform. I want Fanatics to do great, but I also want Leaf, Upper Deck, and Panini to do great too. And if they are responsive to the market, not just giving people what they want, what they ask for, but thinking ahead. And so I'm challenging Panini, all of them, to think ahead of not just business as usual, but try to be initiating and innovating a little bit each year. So if Panini does that, my friends at Panini will be fine. And I'm hoping that's the case. I don't believe it's a zero-sum game when you're in the hobby. If you're going to 10x the hobby, everybody should grow. Thanks, everybody. Be back again in a couple days, another episode.